But this whole thing's been a nightmare.
I'm more concerned about my marriage.
Here's a look ahead.
I'm happy to always help.
I'm gonna need all the help I can get.
Oh, yeah, I like that one. Can you send it to Mommy?
Go. Be with your family.
You are trying to destroy his life, and there's nothing you can do about it.
The opulent silence of the Forrester mansion was a stark contrast to the storm that was about to break. In the grand living room, where champagne flutes had so often clinked in celebration, Luna Nozawa sat perched on the edge of a silk-upholstered settee, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. She was trying to focus on the gentle cadence of Eric Forrester's voice as he discussed a new design sketch with Ridge, but her own heart was a frantic, trapped bird beating against her ribs. The memory of that chaotic, passion-fueled night with Zend felt like a brand on her soul, a secret that grew heavier with each passing hour. The tranquility was shattered by the crisp, authoritative chime of the doorbell. It was a sound that, in any other home, might have been mundane, but here, in this bastion of curated beauty, it felt like an intrusion. Penny, Luna's mother, who had been arranging flowers in a vase, looked up, her brow furrowed. Ridge grumbled something about interruptions before a housekeeper appeared in the archway, her face pale. "There are officers here," she announced, her voice unsteady. "They're asking for Luna." A cold dread, swift and absolute, washed over Luna. Her eyes, wide with panic, darted to her mother's. Penny's expression shifted from confusion to a dawning, maternal terror. Before anyone could move, 2 LAPD detectives, a man and a woman, entered the room. They moved with an efficient, unassailable authority that seemed to suck all the air from the space. Their plain clothes were a stark contrast to the vibrant, artistic chaos of the Forrester living room. "Luna Noza?" the female detective asked, her voice level and devoid of emotion. Luna could only manage a weak, trembling nod. She felt the weight of every gaze in the room, Eric's paternal concern, Ridge's sharp, analytical stare, and her mother's sheer, undiluted fear. "Luna Nozawa," the detective repeated, "you are under arrest for the sexual assault of Zend Forrester Dominguez." The words hung in the air, grotesque and impossible. For a moment, there was only a deafening silence as the statement was processed. Then, the room erupted. "What?" Penny cried out, rushing to her daughter's side. "No, that's a lie. That's impossible." Whoa, time out," Ridge boomed, stepping forward, using his broad frame as a physical barrier. "You have the wrong person. There's been a misunderstanding. A big one." Eric, rising slowly from his chair, his voice a low rumble of disbelief, added, "Officers, this is a very serious accusation. There must be some kind of mistake. Luna is a gentle soul." But the detectives were unmoved. The male detective began reciting the Miranda rights in a rote monotone. "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you can say can and will be used against you in a court of law." The words blurred into a nightmarish hum in Luna's ears. Sexual assault. Zend. Her mind reeled. It was consensual, wasn't it? The mints, the dizzying euphoria, the blurred lines between her own desire and the foreign, potent influence of Poppy's special mints. Had she misunderstood? Had she, in her altered state, crossed a line she couldn't even remember? "No," she whispered, her voice breaking. "No, it wasn't like that. We were together. It was a mistake, but it was mutual." Her pleas fell on the procedural armor of the law. The female detective gently but firmly took her by the arm, guiding her to her feet. Luna's legs felt like water. She looked back at her mother, her eyes pleading, swimming in a sea of confusion and shame. "Mom," she choked out. I would never." Penny was sobbing now, held back by a grim-faced Ridge. "Don't say anything, baby. Don't say a word. We'll get you a lawyer." The walk from the settee to the doorway was the longest of Luna's life. Each step felt like a public shaming, a perverse parade through the very symbol of the life she had dreamed of. The beautiful artwork on the walls, the gleaming awards, the very air of success and glamour, It all seemed to mock her. She was an imposter, a criminal being escorted from the palace. As they stepped out of the front door, the bright California sunlight was blinding. It was a beautiful day, a day for picnics at the beach and strolls along the boardwalk, not for this. And then she saw them. Paparazzi. Dozens of them, their cameras already clicking and whirring, a wall of flashing lights and shouted questions. Luna. Over here. Did you assault Zen Forrester? What do you have to say to the Forresters? The world tilted. She instinctively lowered her head, her long hair creating a fragile curtain against the onslaught. The cameras captured it all. Her tear-streaked face, the sheer terror in her eyes, the stark, humiliating moment as the detective placed a hand on her head and guided her into the back of the unmarked sedan. The slam of the car door was the sound of her world ending. It was final, metallic, and cold. Inside the mansion, chaos reigned. Penny had collapsed into a chair, her body racked with sobs. My baby, they've taken my baby. Ridge was already on his phone, his voice a low, furious growl. Carter? We have a situation. A big one. Luna's been arrested. Yeah, you heard me. Get down to the station now. And call the best damn criminal defense attorney in California. Eric stood by the window, watching the taillights of the police car disappear down the driveway. A profound sadness etched his features. Zend, he murmured, the name a heavy sigh. Why would he do this? The processing at the police station was a dehumanizing blur. Fingerprints, photographs, the mugshot a permanent record of her utter devastation, the removal of her personal belongings, placed in a clear plastic bag. She was placed in a cold, sterile holding cell, the door clanging shut with a sound that echoed in the hollow of her soul. She wrapped her arms around herself, pulling her knees to her chest, trying to make herself small. The other women in the cell glanced at her with a mixture of curiosity and apathy. She was just another well-dressed girl who'd gotten herself into trouble. Hours later, she was led to an interrogation room. Carter Walton and a sharp, severe-looking woman named Evelyn Reed, the defense attorney, were waiting for her. Luna, Carter said, his voice calm but firm. This is Evelyn. She's here to help. You need to tell her everything. From the beginning. And so, through hiccuping sobs and waves of shame, Luna did. She told them about the party, about feeling insecure and out of place. She confessed about taking her mother's mints, believing them to be a harmless, calming aid. She described the world tilting, the euphoria, the loss of inhibition. She detailed her encounter with Zend, the intense attraction, the whispered words, the lead-up to their intimate moment in the guest room. It felt real, she whispered, her voice raw. It felt like we both wanted it. I thought he was just as into it as I was. Evelyn Reed listened, her eyes missing nothing. These mints, she said. Where are they? In my purse. At the mansion, Luna said. My mom, she called them her happy mints. I had no idea. Evelyn and Carter exchanged a significant look. We'll have them tested immediately, Evelyn stated. If they contain an unprescribed, psychoactive substance, it completely changes the landscape. It could support a defense of involuntary intoxication, calling your capacity to consent into question, or even negating the requisite intent for the crime. It was a lifeline, a thread of legal logic in the overwhelming emotional chaos. But it felt abstract. The cell that night was a special kind of hell. The thin, scratchy blanket did nothing to ward off the chill that came from within. Every sound, the jangle of keys, the distant shout of another inmate, the hum of the fluorescent lights, jolted her awake. She replayed every second of that night with Zend, searching her memory for a sign, a word, a gesture of refusal from him. Had she been so lost in the min-induced haze that she'd missed it? The doubt was a poison, seeping into her certainty. Sleep, when it finally came, was fitful and haunted. The next morning, she was led into the courtroom for her arraignment. She wore the clothes she had been arrested in, now wrinkled and carrying the faint scent of disinfectant. As she was guided to the defendant's table, she dared to look into the gallery. Her mother was there, her face a mask of anguish. And across the aisle, surrounded by his family, sat Zend. He looked tired, his jaw set, his eyes fixed straight ahead, refusing to look at her. Seeing him, the man she had shared such an intense, confusing connection with, now sitting as her accuser, was a physical blow. The chasm between them felt infinite. The judge's voice was a dry, procedural drone. The charges were read aloud again, each word a public lashing. How do you plead? Evelyn Reed stood, her posture ramrod straight. Not guilty, Your Honor. The judge set bail, a high, staggering figure that reflected the severity of the charges. Carter immediately nodded. The Forresters would cover it. But as the bailiff led her away, back towards the horrors of custody until the paperwork was processed, Luna knew that money could only free her body, not her name. The final, crushing blow came as she was being escorted out of the courtroom. A reporter, having slipped past the court officers, shoved a smartphone in her face. On the screen was a TMZ headline, bold and brutal. BNB's sweet Luna is a predator, new in turn accused of drugging and assaulting Forrester heir. Below the headline was her mugshot, her face pale and terrified, forever captured in a moment of utter ruin. A small, broken sound escaped her lips. This was no longer a private nightmare or a family scandal. It was a global spectacle. Her reputation, her future, the very essence of who she was, had been publicly stripped away and branded with a word she could barely comprehend: predator. As the heavy door of the transport van closed behind her, plunging her back into darkness, Luna Nozawa finally understood. She wasn't just arrested. She had been erased. And the long, agonizing battle to piece herself back together had only just begun. The bold and the beautiful spoilers for the next 3 weeks suggest some crazy curveballs. From October 13th to 31st, fans can expect Deacon Sharp, Sean Cannon, to be divided in a love triangle. Deke Sharp, Harrison Cohn, probably gets the job, but he's keeping 2 huge secrets. Plus, Bill Spencer, Don Diamont, and Katie Logan, Heather, are on track to reunite as well as planning a risky adoption. So let's get started. Luna Nozawa's fate. Before getting to the 3-weekers, let's talk about what is coming up during the week of October 13th. First up, we have Luna, who will have to face Deputy Chief Bradley Baker, Dan Martin. This is going to be a surprise for Luna, who thought Will Spencer, Crew Morrow, being her baby daddy would give her a life of luxury. Instead, she's going back to prison. Bill Spencer, Don Diamont, will likely make arrangements so Luna is unharmed during the pregnancy. Perhaps she will get put in isolation for 9 months. Meanwhile, can Will and Electra Forrester, Linnea Grace, survive this? Although Electra might run now, she could reunite with Will eventually. Risky adoption plan. Bill and Katie Logan, Heather Tom, plan on adopting Luna's baby. However, there could be complications if Luna challenges the adoption. There is also Lee Finnegan, Naomi Matsuda, and Sheila Cartsharp, Kimberlyn Brown. The 2 grandmothers could contest the adoption as well. Despite John Finnegan, Tanner Novlin, wanting his daughter behind bars, will Lee's explanation change anything for him? We will also have Deacon, who will get closer to Taylor Hayes, Rebecca Budig. Hope Logan, Annika Noel, will go over designer applications. It seems that Hope will pick Deke, but he's holding 2 very big secrets. Deke will also get to know Electra. Week of October 20th, 2025. There should be news of Steffi Forrester Finnegan, Jacqueline McInnes Wood. However, when the brunette returns home, Finn is going to have to explain things to her. Despite Luna being back behind bars, Steffi could once again see her everywhere. Deacon will continue to feel torn between Taylor and Sheila. While the old Sheila would have gone after Taylor, this one makes a gentle urging to her husband instead. What happens if Deacon chooses Taylor, though? Deacon's love saved and reformed Sheila, so what happens when he's gone? The bold and the beautiful spoilers. Next 3 weeks. There could be scenes showing a much more pregnant Luna in jail. Bill and Katie might go to the prison to check on the progress of the pregnancy. Beatty could also get lawyers involved regarding custody of the baby. We should get an update on Deacon's love triangle. Plus, Carter Walton, Lauren St. Victor, has moved on with Daphne Rose, Muriel Hilaire. Meanwhile, Hope and Liam Spencer, Scott Clifton, are on track to reunite. Which storyline are you looking forward to seeing the most during the next 3 weeks? The Bold and the Beautiful, B&B, spoilers for Tuesday, October 14th, reveal that Katie Logan's, Heather Tom, custody plan will infuriate Luna Nozawa, Lisa Yamada, while John Finnegan, Tanner Novlin, supports his daughter getting thrown in lockup. Now that Deputy Chief Bradley Baker, Dan Martin, has shown up to arrest Luna, the news should spread to Finn soon enough. Finn will declare that justice should be served, so he'll be on board with Luna getting tossed behind bars where she can't hurt anyone else. At the Spencer mansion, Electra Forrester, Linnea Grace, will continue to taunt Luna since she's the one who called the cops. The paternity test showed Will Spencer, Crew Morrow, is the father of Luna's baby, but Electra has no intention of letting her control his life. Katie will back Electra up in Tuesday's B&B episode and ultimately make a big announcement that catches Luna off guard. After Katie declares that she's going to take custody of the baby along with Bill Spencer, Don Diamont, you can bet Luna will strongly object. Luna plans to raise her child with Will and convince him to make some updates to his perspective down the road. However, Katie will make it crystal clear that it's not happening and will vow to provide a stable home for this baby after he or she is born, without Luna's involvement at all. Other Bold and the Beautiful spoilers say Deacon Sharp, Sean Cannon, will turn to Taylor Hayes, Rebecca Budig for more guidance. Since Deacon's marriage is in total turmoil, he'll need some additional help and will make his way to Taylor's office soon enough. Taylor will assure Deacon that she'll always be there for him and will offer up a warm embrace at some point in the coming episodes. That'll give Sheila Sharp, Kimberlyn Brown, a chance to witness Deacon and Taylor's close moment, so her jealous rage could be a problem. Sheila could go off the rails if she feels like Deacon is slipping away, especially if she believes Taylor is stealing his heart. DL will have other great Bold and the Beautiful spoilers, updates, and news.